He is the model of resistance to the Nazis, but also the model of treason. He is Hans Oster, deputy head of the German Abwehr and the informal managing director of the German anti-Nazi resistance. I'm Spartacus Olsson, and this is a World War II biography special where we look at the key figures of the conflict and find out what makes them tick. In our German resistance special on War Against Humanity, I briefly mentioned Hans Oster, as has Indy several times in the weekly episode. To understand Oster is to understand the dilemma faced by officers in the Wehrmacht who opposed Adolf Hitler and the Nazis. He is a career soldier who starts climbing the ranks of the German military even before the Great War. But when the Nazis take power, he sees how his country is threatened by a racist madman, and he decides to use his position in the German military intelligence agency to oppose Nazism. He's born in Dresden in 1887 to a Protestant clergyman and his wife. He fights in the Great War as an officer and is awarded the Iron Cross on the Western Front. He is promoted to lieutenant and works for the General Staff from 1916. After the war, holding the rank of captain, he stays in the reduced Weimar military, the Reichswehr. But in 1932, he is fired for indiscretion when he is caught in an affair with another officer's wife. He gets a new job in the Prussian police force that is being created by Hermann Göring that year. And in 1933, he gets transferred to the Abwehr, the Wehrmacht Military Intelligence Service. Now, Oster is largely apolitical and serves the army regardless of ideology. But as an officer of the Old Guard, Oster finds Nazi leadership deeply unpleasant, as they challenged the authority and status quo of the state military by increasing the power of the party through the SS and the Gestapo. That said, like most military men, initially he cautiously appreciates their politics of national strength and military rearmament. His distaste strengthens in the aftermath of the Night of the Long Knives, June 30th, 1934, the internal purge of any imminent threats to Hitler's power. Oster's superior, General von Bredow, is one of the victims, and Oster now gradually develops into active resistance. By his own words, the 1938 Reichskristallnacht, the Jewish pogrom, and the Blomberg-Fritsch affair, wherein Hitler increases his influence over the Wehrmacht, turns Oster's resistance into hatred of the Führer. From that moment on, Oster is committed beyond resistance. Hitler must be put down at any cost. And he's not alone. He now becomes the ringleader of a small group of like-minded in the Wehrmacht, the Gestapo, and the Abwehr. Admiral Wilhelm Canaris, head of the Abwehr and Oster's commander, is one of them, which effectively allows Oster to use the Abwehr's network to his advantage. According to Staff Officer von Schlabrendorf, it is thanks to Oster's efforts that the disparate resistance groups within Germany coalesce into a unified movement, and he continuously expands his network with high-ranking dissidents. One crucial friendship he cultivates as early as February 1934 is with Gestapo officer Hans Bernhard Gisevius, who becomes his most important co-conspirator. Through Gisevius, Oster learns the intricacies of the Gestapo's plan for the elimination of political opponents and undesirables. But it's in the Wehrmacht that he will attempt his biggest plot, known to the afterworld as the Oster conspiracy. In 1938, Canaris puts Oster in contact with the Wehrmacht General Ludwig Beck, another ideological opponent to Hitler. Together, they forge a gang of conspirators that even includes Franz Halder, chief of staff of the OKW, the German High Command, and numerous more high-ranking officers. Their plan is to occupy the government quarter in Berlin, seize the main centers of communication to isolate SS command posts, and to capture Hitler. Oster's pre-made resistance network of the Abwehr provides them with false papers, lists of possible co-conspirators, and general intelligence. However, Oster believes that the British appeasement effort is in the way of getting rid of Hitler. See, Oster can only convince the others that his actions are just if Hitler is shown to be a warmongering maniac, not if his false promises of peace are broadcasted and accepted on a global level. Come early September 1938, Oster and Canaris have one of their network's agents convey a message to 10 Downing Street to not appease Hitler, saying if you block him now, he either loses face or is forced to invade, and assuring that he will be dealt with internally. But British Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain rejects the report, believing the plot to be fantasy, and thus Hitler's false concessions at the Munich conference marks the end of the Oster conspiracy. Beck is fired for public opposition to war, and the others, including Halda, lose faith in the feasibility of the plan. Oster doesn't give up, though. He just changes tack. He realizes that he can't count on the Wehrmacht generals anymore. What he can do by himself is pass information to Germany's enemies. From March 1939 onwards, Oster forges a friendship with Major Gisbertus J. Saas, a Dutch military attaché in Berlin. Oster informs Saas of the German invasion plans, emphasizing how the Benelux is in grave danger. Saas informs Dutch General Reinders, but he refuses to believe that Germany would violate Dutch neutrality and takes no action, setting up the Netherlands for a bigger surprise in May 1940 than needed. But let's be clear here. Oster is now endangering his comrades, his countrymen, by selling them out to foreign powers. How could he, a military man, oppose his men, his superiors, his government, and his Führer? How could he commit such an act of treason and jeopardize the lives of German soldiers? After the war, this will lead to a discussion in Germany that redefines the definition of German patriotism centered on Oster. It's a distinction between Hochverrat, high treason, and Landesverrat, national treason. While national treason is unconditionally dishonorable in some cases, committing high treason against the leadership of your nation is the only way to save your country. Or, as Oster puts it himself, man könnte nun sagen, dass ich ein Landesverräter sei. Aber das bin ich in Wahrheit nicht. Ich halte mich für einen besseren Deutschen als all die anderen, die Hitler nachlaufen. Mein Plan ist und meine Pflicht sehe ich darin, Deutschland und damit die Welt von dieser Pest zu befreien. To spare the lives of German soldiers is to sacrifice the lives and livelihoods of tens of millions of civilians and foreign soldiers across Europe and the world. He chooses the lesser of two evils, what he believes will lead to less death in total. Oster bases this in a belief of absolute moral virtue based on humanism and tolerance, that one life cannot be more valuable than the other. He actively opposes the racism and anti-Semitism of the Nazis. Together with Canaris, Oster protects Jewish German citizens by smuggling them out of the country and even openly employing Jewish agents in the Abwehr without giving them any real tasks, but ensuring that as agents they are protected from arrest and deportation. All of this undoubtedly takes sheer courage and blind hope. Historians will comment on his irresponsible carelessness, especially his readiness to keep a diary and notes to maintain efficiency in his work. Disregarding the dangers at hand, Oster is engrossed in his mission. He's absorbed in his secret circles and burning with the intent to bring down the Führer. But his luck of not getting caught can't last forever. Oster, Canaris, and other members of the resistance network will later be involved in the failed 1944 Stauffenberg plot to assassinate Hitler. He will be arrested, put on sham trial, and on April 9, 1945, at the Flossenburg concentration camp, a bare month before the defeat of Nazism that he worked so hard for, Hans Oster will pay the ultimate price for his resistance, death by hanging. Do you want to know more about Oster's effort to warn the Allied countries in the fall of 1939 and winter of 1940? Click here for our World War II in real-time episode on that. Make sure to subscribe, ring that bell, and see you next time.